Hello, my lovely spectators. Didi here. Welcome to my studio. We are working on ABC April 2026. The lovely challenge, collaboration, open to everyone who would love to participate. Developed and hosted by Seven Plaza and Crafty by Tony, aka Margreth and Tony. Today is the letter M, and I am gonna try to give you something. I mean, the title already says it, movement. My M is movement. So I've come up with 3 designs and I'm gonna show you them. So we're trying to take the movement, we're trying to make it manageable and easy to incorporate into a journal. Okay. I could have done any other M thing in the world, but I like to drive myself crazy. So I have my little cheat sheet of things, and I'm going to show you the different aspects of the movement that we're talking about. This is literally all the supplies you're going to need. It's just a bunch of papers here. I'll break that down to you in a minute, but we have 3 different types of movement. The first one is going to be this. I put it on a sample page. I do have them decorated so that you can see something that is a little more pretty versus just a template. And so a 5 and a 7.5 page or 8.5 page, whatever it is. So up until here, this is the movement that we're talking about. Have a little tab here and we can pull and we have all these cards that pop out. Isn't that fun? And then we just put them back there. Also, when you bring them out, you can access the back. You can't glue this down, but you have all of this space. You can put a little sticker or some little stamp on this white little spot here. And then you can do the next one and do the next one. And the paper would not be in your way, but you do the next one. Okay, and sorry, it got folded, right? And then this one is glued to the paper to hold the whole mechanism together, but why not make it into a little side tuck, happy, little hidden place to put stuff. And then you just flap them right there. So they look like they're just sitting there on a journal page, but you have this. And I think that's so fun. This is the first one. This is usually this one I feel is the easiest one to do. So I think I'm gonna just jump right in and I'm gonna show you how to put this all together. So you're going to need, these are the size of 5 by 3 index cards, right? And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. And I have 1 strip of paper that is needed in order to do this. Okay, so here's my little cheat sheet. So basically, let me show you. I wrote it down. It's a pull. We need 5 3 by 5 index cards and 1 inch by 11, so the long side of the paper. Strip scored at 1 inch. So let's show you how you put this together. It's really easy. So you have your paper. You cut your 1 inch strip out of a copy paper. Maybe a little bit thicker than copy paper or printer paper, just slightly would be good. So let's see, 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna make sure that I have 4, 5. So these are all like blank index cards, right? Actually, it's a white scrapbooking page, but I cut them down to 3 by 5. Okay. You then need to have your strip. I've already scored it, so it's a 1 inch wide, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. You're not going to use it all. You're going to wind up chopping off some of it. I just want to show you the whole thing versus giving you an arbitrary number that you just have to follow. Because, if you wanted to add a 6th card, you could. If you wanted to do less than 5, you can as well. So it depends on wherever you stop. I think 5 is a good number. And you can go with, you can do 3 if you want. So we're just doing this fold. Now this is not my invention. This is actually a rip off, a riff off, not a rip off, because we share. That's why you post to YouTube, right? But of Treasure Book, Natasha made a folio that does this kind of mechanism, and so and she makes it as a complete book. And I thought, why not make it something that you could just attach to a page that has, you know, fun cards that you can just attach to it. Okay, so now you have this zigzaggy situation going on there. You're going to position it where this part, okay, it's going to get glued down, but this part here, that is the direction of the pull, okay? And so you're going to hold your cards, right? And you're going to put your adhesive to that tab, okay? So I'm going to do this, okay? You know what? I'm actually going to also put it here, okay? So once you've done this 1 inch zigzag, right? Zigzag, mountain valley, you're going to want it to come this way. So orientation wise, you want your top up here, you want your bottom. So, and you're going to be actually gluing it to this edge, okay? So we're gonna put some glue, not go super crazy, and put some glue here and there, okay? So we're gonna put it to the middle of this edge all the way, okay? I just want to get it proper, okay? So this is how you start that whole mechanism, and then you're going to be able to add as many cards as you want. So again, right, this is the pull, this is where it's going to get pulled this way. So we're going to be putting in every one of these valleys a card. So we're going to put a card here, and we're going to glue. Now you could actually stagger the first 3 or so just to give some variety if you wanted to, or you just keep them all like more hidden. So I'm going to do a little bit of staggering just so that you can see what that looks like. So again, we're going to glue. We're going to make sure that the top, it's set up. We're going to press that down, right? So now we're in another valley. So I'm going to put another valley card, another card there. And then I'm going to put the glue. And I'm going to make sure that it stays lined up and it's pressed down. Okay, and then I'm keeping the front towards me, right? I'm going to take another valley card. We're going to put in the valley. I'm staggering them so we can see how that looks. Okay, then we're gluing that down. And then I'm going to put my last. I just particularly like 5. Okay. I'll put that right there. Make sure that it's lined up. So you will see these little pieces here, but again, if you've been pressing them good to the edge, you should be fine. You should see things more like a single entity. So for example, here's our first card. Let me just, so you can see, right? There's our first card. Here's our second card. I should have done this before, sorry. I've realized that the white was starting to look a little bit hard on the eyes to see. Okay. Okay, that's good enough. Okay. So you have this little extra. Now, you could actually add a 6th card, so you can do 6 cards with this length of 11 inches. I only did 5. I think odd numbers, we're told that for design purposes, odd numbers seem to be like the way to go. So you could actually just rip that off. But anytime that you stop and you have that extra, just get rid of it. It's unnecessary. Okay, so here you go. So now, you know what, matter of fact, for purposes of this, you're going to need a tab, right? So you're going to put a tab either underneath, hidden like that. You could do a whale tail. You could do something a little more pronounced. That's all up to you. I would put it right here. Okay, I'm gonna show you. So right here, you see where we did the first thing, the first gluing, right? And then on this side, they're all open and then they're just stuck in the valleys. That's it. That's all you got to do. So now I'm going to take my paper. I'm going to take this paper and I'm going to glue down my little pocket so that you can see that the mechanism actually does work. So I'm going to make myself a pocket. If you don't want to make it a pocket, like, why not? I'm just going to close it up. Just going to close it up. You put it, the tab tells you which way you're going to be pulling. Maybe you want it further in. You could, I guess, leave the other side underneath open, but you know, I didn't think about doing that. You can try it. Doesn't hurt to try. So now you've glued it on your page. You have your tab, and look, you go, right? Now, when you don't line them up all together, that little bit of a turn is a possibility. So I think a little bit heavier than just plain paper would work out well for this. And then it goes back. Again, if you do this, you can actually turn it over. They can see the back, turn it over, see the back, turn it over, see the back, turn it over, and you can see the back and this side. And then right there, it's in place. So yeah, so that's the first movement. This is the simplest to do. Unless the mountain and the valleys is getting you a little confused, which is a possibility. I know sometimes, you know, things can be a little bit confusing. I'm going to deconstruct all of this, and I want to start an idea book. So that was number 1. So that's our first way to add some simple movement with just one little piece of paper, creating some mountains and valleys and tucking in different ephemera pieces, you know. Cute. If the person had 5 letters to their name, you could put a letter on each one, and when they go like that, it says, you know, Nancy, N-A-N-C-Y. I don't know why I said Nancy. Anyway, do I know a Nancy? I think I do. Anyway, if you want to go in, you could probably do it even longer by attaching more strips together. So movement number 1. Let's reset. Okay, number 2. I find is also pretty simple, and let me show you what that is. That's this. Now I'm sure that there are dies for this, but you know, we don't always have every single die. Sometimes it may be cost prohibitive, but we can make this little slider rotating thing. So I'm gonna break it down to you on how you can do that, and yeah, it's not that bad. So let's take a look at what we have here. With this one, the spinner, you need one index card that's 5 by 8. Okay, you need a piece of cardstock that you're going to punch a circle from that is 3.5 by 4 and a quarter. It is dictated by the size of your punch. So I have a 3.5 punch to make that round spinning in there, so I needed that 3.5. And then you need a circle punch that is 1 inch for the holes. Okay, and then you're also going to need a little tiny brad, right, or the smallest brad that you can find, because it will be visible. Yeah, my little tiny ones are over here. Okay, so I'm just gonna grab any little tiny. I just need one. I know it's really tiny. I just need one. And you're gonna need a pokey tool, and you're gonna need something to poke through. Okay, so again, we're creating a journal card, so you are gonna have space to write in the back. By using a tiny little one of these, maybe it might be visible in the design of the paper that you put here, but you can write on the back of this once you tuck it into a card. Okay, so how do we do this one? I'm gonna show you how simple it is. Okay, so the first thing is you take the 5 by 8 and you just fold it in half. You take the 5 by 8 base, you fold it in half. Okay, and then what you're going to need to do is, you're not going to close it yet. You're going to need to do some poking and stuff like that. But you are going to need to know more or less where the middle is. So that's going to be right about here. Really lightly, just put a little line. You're going to be using that line to punch that circle that we need to, use. So we're gonna put that to the side because we need this piece. So this is the 3.5 by 4.25. Now, why is it that way? Because we want to have something to hold on to when we put it into the punch. Learn that. So this is actually the 3.5 by 3.5 square. So I just did a little marking here. And then you're also going to need to find the center of the circle. So if you first do your 3.5 by 3.5 inch square, and then you do your little crisscross diagonals, the center is going to show up for you. Okay, so once that little center is indicated, remember, two-sided paper, and this is actually going to go inside. So we're not even going to see any of these markings. We need that to poke a hole for the brad. Okay, did I lose the tiny brad? No. So now I'm going to take my 3.5 inch punch, and I'm going to position this in, and I have my little holding piece to kind of where I need to see that I'm filling in the edges and getting my nice round, right, 3.5 by 3.5. So there's my 3.5 by 3.5. Now this piece here is not really needed. You could throw it in your scraps, whatever. I'm just gonna toss it to the side over here. I don't need it. I don't need it because I have other things that I already have that I'm gonna use. Okay, and we're done with this punch. That's all you have to do is make this one little punch, right? So now we know that we're gonna need to punch the middle. So now we know where the middle is. There's no eyeballing, you know. I don't know if you guys ever notice this. Let me just off aside give you a little trick. Sometimes we have, let's say we punched out something that was 1 inch, right? And if you have this kind of, you know, mat, and you're like, where's the center? Put this guy in the center of the box, and then you can actually, you know, help this to find you the center. You can also maybe draw, you know, with your ruler, but sometimes we forget that we have tools right under our noses that we can actually use to find the center. Now I already could tell that that's off because I'm just freehanding right here. So let's see here. Yeah, so if I went from this corner to that corner, and I went from this corner to that corner, and that corner to this corner, I know, a squirrel moment. And then this is the center. Let's see. Yeah, that's a lot closer to where the center is. Much more precision if I use the ruler, right? But like, we all have these mats that have the grids, and sometimes we do a hole on one of these, like we're going to do a policy closure. It's like, oh, where's the center? Quick little hint, right? A little side hint. But it's the same concept here. So that's the center of our mechanism, right? Now, we're going to bring this over so that we're going to open this up, and we want this. So I want to kind of line this up so I know I'm in the center, and I want to peek this out just slightly, no more than maybe 1/4 inch, right? No more than 1/4 inch, right? I drew this line for 2 reasons. One, this little line that I drew to make my center, I'm gonna eyeball it. You know, doesn't have to be exact, but close enough. I'm gonna keep it straight and just gonna smush it over so that I have that little handle. I don't want it too much because I want to be able to put some good stuff on the inside, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. Now we're going to poke our hole through, okay, and now we know where that's going to go. The other thing that I need is to punch a 1 inch little 1 inch circle, a window. So again, I'm going to use this approximate. This is the center. I'm going to use the back of this because, you know, these don't let you go that far in. So I'm going to use the back of that. I'm going to center this boy up, and I'm going to punch that out. Okay? We don't really need this, but erase that, put in your stash. So here we go. So we can erase this over here, and we can erase this over here. Now, what I would do is before... Well, no, you can do it now. These brads, they still have thickness with the heads. That's unavoidable, right? You know, it's a tiny, 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 tiny brad. So what I did, let me go back and show you, is I got my design, what I was going to put on it. I lined it up right, with the thing after I had the hole, and then I punched the hole out of my top layer, and then I glued it on. Okay. After I glued it on, I was able to come from the back because I had my hole already and get my little pokey tool and put that through. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually pretend that we put our picture here. We're gonna put the little brad through the top. Brad through the top. Yeah, it's little. You get so fumbly. And then we're gonna put this like this. Okay. Now, of course, ink everything, do whatever you want. Now this guy will turn it. You know, we are using our tools as best we can, using the mathematics of finding a center, etc. So this should stay relatively the same. If it wobbles in and out, your center is off, meaning that the amount of out this is sticking out. So now it's doing that a little bit. That's why I mentioned it, but it's not going to be that much of a big deal. Okay. Now you can do two different things. You can do the hard way, which is to trace, and I'm going to do it real quick. So you can trace a circle, then move it till you don't see the circle, trace another circle, and then move it until you don't see the circle. And you can do this around with a nice little pencil, right? And then we will be able to get about 5. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to take it apart so you can see. So this is a more tedious way that I think it works, but you get about 5 circles. They're not going to be perfect, but you know that they're going to land in that circle. Then you can stamp things on here. You need to stay within the circle. That's your choice. No problem, right? If you're going to stamp it, I think that one of the things that you should do is to determine where your horizon line is. Meaning, if I stamp something that is positioned upright, I need to make sure that wherever that circle lands, it needs to like kind of keep that item upright. I'll explain right now. So for example, right, if this is the bottom, then I know that I need this, just a faint line, to be the bottom of whatever it is if it's positioned, you know, up and down. Okay, I learned from making that mistake, and I had to reconfigure it and think about it for a moment, and so then I came up with the other strategy. But this is if you want to do straight up stamping, then you would do that. Bring your circle to the next one, right? It's not secured, that's why it's looking a little bit off. And you go ahead and you put that like that, okay? And so then you can see that it's going to rotate and change positions in every circle. So you need those guidelines of how big the stamp could be and how to position it so that when it's in the window, it's upright, okay? I'm going to leave those there because why not? Let me close this back up. Okay. So close this nicely, right? So every time I come to my circle, right, I'm gonna do that. I know where I could stamp, okay? So I know I could stamp over here, and I want it to be like that, so that's parallel to the base, right? And go to this one and say, okay, that's parallel to the base, and so forth, right? And so therefore I could come back and I could take a stamp and I could do my stamping. Now, if you do not want to deal with the stamping, totally a possibility, right? Guess what? It's a 1-inch punch. So, look at what I got here. I got my little stash of everything that I have extra. I always cut out circles. I have like tab pieces, whatever. I'm going to go to my little 1-inch circle situation here. And all you got to do is pop them in. So I'm not going to put any matte adhesive on here. I'm going to pop them in right there. It's 1 inch. It fits in here perfectly. And then I could turn it. And then I could find something else that I could put in here. So let's see. Oh, I got a button. I got a picture of a button. Just pulling random stuff, right? And then you would put them in that way. And then, you know, you just go like that. And now it goes, and then you can move it to the next one. Okay, so I was a little off because I'm showing you and I'm not right above it, but we got our next little picture and we can just put it in here, right? Move it to the next situation. So if you're doing with the circles with the punch, you really don't even have to draw the circles because you're just fitting them into wherever the 1 inch allows you to fit in. So you should be able to get 5. Okay. I'm not putting in any, this is removable tape, right? And then you go ahead and you get one more right there. So let's just grab something. Let's just put some words. Okay. So you could punch whatever is related to the main picture, and now once you have that in and you glue it down, when you turn this, you'll be able to change out the window each time. Okay. Now what do you do to finalize? You basically are going to glue the sides over here. Okay, because it's already closed over here. And I also glued a little bit towards that thing so it's not too gaping once I've done all my inserts. Ink it up and there you go. This is your spinner. Okay. So again, where's our original? Where's our pretty one? Here it goes. So, right, the paper was cut after we did the circle hole, put it on there, glue it. The circle is where you know it's supposed to be. Punch it from the other side. The hole, all of that was already done. And now you are just going to fill in that little circle with other circles. I think that that's the easiest way, honestly, if you have the 1 inch punch. I wouldn't go bigger than 1 inch for this size. So, you know, from here to here, the center there is 3.5. So that's what? 1.5. A 1 and 7, 1.75. So 1.75 here. So 1 inch is going to give you enough space that it doesn't feel cramped. And then you have your little spinner. Nice little additional little thing. And it's a journal card. If you wanted to glue it down and have it be a tuck or a pocket or whatever, you can do that as well. So this is your movement number 2. Okay. And now we have the last movement. The last movement is one that I'm bringing from the card making universe, which is this. It's a little off because it doesn't hit the same. So it's a little limited because of the width of the card, but every now and then it hit. Oh, it almost did it. It hits really cute. Also, my little adhesive in here is not a circle, so that's probably also something that is hindering the flow. So let me show you what it is that you need, right? And I know this is the more involved one. I feel like this is a little bit more involved than the, oh, see there, see, you saw it, there it goes, that little butterfly spinning. That's so cute. Anyway, this card is a little shorter than I would have that I suggest in the finished product. I would have liked to have more. So this is when I was doing my intro template, whatever. I have, this guy is only up to 4. I would do it by 4x6. So what do we need for this guy, which is the slider? We need 2 4x6 index cards. We're going to need to use our crocodile. We need a blade and a ruler. We're going to need 2 small punch circles, a small pop dot, and we need a bunch of foam squares and a penny. So we don't need any of this right now. We need this. We need a couple of those and some foam, and these are what I have. The hexagonal, my goodness, I can't even speak properly right now. Okay, so I want that on that side, and then I'm gonna, so we're just prepping the mechanism right away. So a single circle, right? Get it in the center. Put this other guy there in the center. Not now. Rewind. So this is when you try to jump the gun thinking you're prepping, you're actually making a mistake. Leave that to the side. Let's pretend I didn't say any of that. Okay, so how we're gonna do this is really simple. I have my 2 pieces of card. Nothing big, no big deal, right? I'm gonna get whatever decorative element that I want, something single, right? Something that full, like some music sheet or whatever, and then you're gonna be able to decorate a lot here on the bottom. So we want something the full height, okay? Once you have that full height, what you're gonna do is you're going to put pop dots or foam on this side, and you want to create a stable card. So you put them, you know, not all the way to the edge. Again, that's your prerogative. I don't necessarily put them all the way to the edge. And then down here, we're gonna go across. Okay. So these are specialty items, right? These are like you're putting one in a journal, not a mess of these, right? So what I was saying earlier about the movement, you could maybe help with that movement by knowing where more or less you're going to, let me take this out, where more or less you're going to be having that movement happen, right? So I'm going to try to plan for my movement to happen over here. So I'm opening this up a little bit. I don't want the foam to kind of mess with my placement. And yes, even in the center, because if you don't, then it will sink and crush. Okay, so that's what you have right now. All right, it's going to give your card that foundation that feels like heavy, like there's, you know, whatever. This is a little open because, again, what is it? Not template. Yeah, template, prototype, prototype. So the other piece now we're gonna do is the one that's decorated, and you could decorate both sides, but it's enough stability that if a person doesn't write too hard, they could use it as a journal card. Or you could, again, stick it down as a corner tuck, side tuck, pocket, etc. But no, actually you can't. This has to be tucked because you want them to be able to lift it and play with the whatever item it is you're putting on the top. Duh. Yo, I'm just like, whew. Okay. So all I'm going to do right now is where I provided that space to be is right here, right? And I'm going to just put a little mark so that I could see that. Okay, we don't need this right now. We're going to have to pull off all those little sticky pieces. We do need our crocodile. Okay, now we want to use the big hole. We just want a hole punch or whatever it is. I'm going to go in, use my little marky thing to, I don't know, what is this? That's a half, 3/8 of an inch. Yeah, so 3/8 of an inch. I'm gonna go in, right there. Okay, and then I'm gonna honestly try to get it exactly the same spot, so you can be more precise than I'm trying to be right now. I kind of have it more or less, right? 3 inch. Okay. It looks like there. And then I'm gonna actually go next to it to add up a little bit of space, so like halfway. So I have like a double, and then halfway over here in the same direction. So we have these kind of doubled up holes, right? Then we're done with our crocodile. We're gonna need our blade and a ruler. So your covering, your decoration, your full decoration with your ink and your paper is already there. You're punching holes through that as well. Now you're going to line up the bottoms. Okay. And then you're going to turn this around and you're going to line up the top. Right? And you're going to get this little slice. Now, you may have dies that could do something this small. If you do, hey, all you want is that it's big enough to fit your pop dot. So now we can go back to what I was trying to jump ahead. Okay, so you're going to need a small one, a smallish one, and then you're going to need to put that through, okay, to the other side. And you can, if you want, you can add the penny straight up, but then sometimes you don't want the penny to be seen, so you don't need it that you want something the size of a penny. Yeah, I guess this is the 1-inch one, so this is going to be the best that we can. And we're going to place that there as well, right, as best to the center as we can. And then we need to glue the penny. Okay, so I'll put some glue there. I'm going to throw the penny on there. So this is on the interior of this. So you see how it like kind of fits there? You want to double check. If you don't like the way something is looking, then it's a good time to kind of, you know, you could also mark it a little better on the back, but you know, sometimes you just don't want to bother to, you know, have to do that. Yeah, so I want to make sure that that is going to fit there. Okay, perfect. It's already used, so I'm going to just put it there. Well, that sits there for a moment. What I'm going to do is, actually, you know what? Because I know myself, it's going to bother me if this guy pops out. So I'm going to take one of these and cut it in half. And just going to use them as stoppers. So you put a stopper over here so that that little piece doesn't fly all the way out. And you put a stopper right here, real close to the edge, probably closer than the other stuff. Okay, so now we're going to take off everything. This is the most tedious part, right? If you don't have nails, you're going to be here all day. I know some people use a pokey tool to do this. I wind up stabbing and just tearing up the back of this, so I don't really do that too much. I'm just pressing the penny to make sure it's setting. Okay. Okay. Two more. Okay, now what you want to do is you want to place this guy right there on top as best as you can. Match the edges and all the top and the bottom and all that good stuff. Okay, and now you should be able to see that this guy will slide. Now because he's got edges and he's not a circle, he's not sliding as much as I would want him to. But we can put anything we want. I'm just going to take something temporary. Let's take one of these Tim Holtz people. Put a little adhesive on there. Let's put that person right there. And then, yeah, it needs a round. It needs a round, yeah, see, it's too, how do you call it? The edges don't let it turn because it's too situated there. Oh man, come on, making me look bad. It's not touching there. It's not touching down here. Yeah, I think it's that. Because this is the same exact that I did before. Maybe a little wider. Anyway, listen, give it a try. Give it a try. The faux pas on my part is that I don't have a round dot. And I probably should have made the hole slightly bigger because of that. If you have your pop dot, it needs to be able for the pop dot for it to move. I took the adhesive off of this. Sorry. It fell off. Come on. Let's put her back. Let's put her back. It'll move. It moves a little bit because again, this needs to be a little slightly wider. Okay, you know what? This is the prototype temporary example, so I'm going to see if what is the issue, and then we will go back to pretending like I did it right from the beginning. But you know what? It happens. We learn from the snafus that we encounter. Okay. All right. So let me see here. One more little piece off. Okay, I think I'm gonna take off a sliver more. I think I'm off. Oh, you know what? I could take it out right now because the hole is there. Oh, I could have put it together. See, look, you learn, right? Because you just would have slipped it in. Okay, let's see if that is going to be enough. So if you did put it together ahead of time, the penny on the inside, the other piece on the outside. What is not happening here? Yeah, okay, that's better. Yeah, a little bit more of an open. Okay, shh, that didn't happen. Okay, let's see if we can, if it moves a little better now. What is happening? Maybe it's the size of this circle. Guys, now we know. Okay. Okay, so adjustments. Do as I say, not as I do, right? You really need the circular pop dot. You do need the hole to be a good distance around the circle so that it can move when it's in there. It does move. I would say test it before you glue them together, but this is the other one. This is a little more involved. This is coming from the scrapbooking and card making world. You made these cider cards and stuff like that. So I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to leave everything in, good, bad, and ugly, because we all don't have perfect days and perfect situations, but how do we adjust from it? I explained. Also, the pop that was getting a little gummed up and tore up on the edges, I guess, from the manhandling. I had to rechange it. I had to change it out to a new one so that it would be a little more precise and not wobbling off of the back dot that's there. And I just attached her to the pop dot itself, right? And she does move. She would move a lot better with the circular pop dot. So I apologize for that. But, you know, it is a cute little idea. Something that, oh, what is this? Oh, okay, cute. Right? She's laughing. I don't know what she's laughing at. Oh, you see, there it goes. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Guys, M is for movement. I'm just trying to bring some movement to your projects. I hope you enjoyed it. The good stuff, the bad stuff, the ideas. If you have any questions or suggestions down below would be great. Leave me a comment. Yeah, so if you are not a subscriber, consider subscribing. Again, not always, my videos are not always going to be pretty, whatever, but hopefully they will be instructional and inspirational, and, you know, hopefully bring something to the table, a thought, an idea, or whatever that maybe you could take and run with it. So, yeah, that's it for M. Tomorrow's N, and I'll see you then. So until tomorrow, ciao, ciao, bye.